It's a massive CNB exclusive, the Volkswagen Tiguan All Space. We have the first review. The Bmw X1 Facelift is here, and we have that review for you as well. And rounding off the SUVs, it's the new Ford Endeavour with the 10-speed transmission, driven in the sand dunes of Rajasthan. Hi and welcome. This is the Carandbike show. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar, and as you've seen, we've got an SUV lineup for you today. Yes, it's turned into a bit of an SUV special, and we'll begin with the one that is our exclusive, the All Space, the Tiguan with the 7 seats. Ameya spent time with the car to bring you this exclusive review.
We exclusively brought you news of Volkswagen bringing a host of SUVs to India, right from the T-Roc to the Tiguan. And we even told you about the one we finally got our hands on, the one that has been launched now, the one which we told you would replace the 5-seater Tiguan.
We are all familiar with the Tiguan nameplate. This one, however, is different, and that is because it gets all space added to that name. This one is a 7-seater, and it is bigger than the Tiguan 5-seater. To be precise, it's longer by 335 millimeters, it's taller than 2 millimeters, and the space between the wheels is 110 millimeters more than the 5-seater version. Now, as far as looks are concerned, it isn't flamboyant, but that's what you don't expect out of VW. So you have all LED headlamps. There is a nice LED DRL signature that you get on the All Space as well. And this clamshell bonnet also doesn't add much to the drama, but well, it looks, subtle and good as well at the same time. There is, however, a dash of chrome all through the car. You see it on the grille, you see it right here, the small line right under there, and you see it splashed across the side and the rear too. And that just shows that this one is a more premium offering.
The roof rails too add to the lifestyle element of the car. Given the fact that it comes to India as a completely built unit, the Tiguan All Space gets all the bells and whistles.
Now, the Tiguan All Space is available in just one variant. That means it's packed to the gills with features. So you get stuff like a digital instrument cluster with active information display, which basically tells you all you want to know about the car. There is also a touchscreen infotainment system with 8 speakers all around the car. So yes, acoustically, it's fun as well. You also get 3-zone climate control, a panoramic sunroof, which is now a big deal for most vehicle owners, and of course you get this soft touch dashboard. Then there are these leather wrapped seats which are really good as far as lumbar support and under thigh support is concerned, and all of that really gives you a good sense of space inside here. But there are 2 more rows to go, right? So let's go and check out how the space there is like.
There's good enough space at the rear, especially in terms of leg, head and shoulder room. But the rear passenger gets some convenience features too.
So you get a center armrest back here with 2 cup holders. There's also this foldable tray that you get. Again, it gets a cup holder. Now this you can use to basically use as a workstation. So you can keep your laptop here and you can of course start working. That of course is a good thing, but you need to fold it all down and check out the space that you have at the rear. So there's good enough knee room right here and good headroom as well. These of course are 60-40 split seats, but what is interesting is that you can slide this forward and back. So if you don't want this much space, basically you just slide it and create some space for the people sitting in the 3rd row.
An attempt to get into the third row took every ounce of my skill. And well, I fit in. Well, almost.
Clearly, there are constraints of the third row. And I had to fold myself to get into this position. And I have no knee room, no headroom. I have no under-thigh support as well. So this is really cramped for me. So definitely this space is for kids or anyone below say 5'4", but definitely not a place for adults.
Trying to get out of the third row proved to be even more challenging. But with all the seats of the 3 rows up, the Tiguan All Space still provides 340 liters of boot space. And that's impressive. There's even enough room for the spare tire. With the third row down, there's 1065 liters on offer. And with the second and third row down, it's a cavernous 1274 liters. You could probably fit more than half of India's cricket team in there. If you do manage to kidnap half of the Indian cricket team, you would need this one to go fast. The petrol-only model does not disappoint.
The Tiguan All Space is only available with a petrol engine. So a 2-liter TSI, 188 brake horsepower, 320 Newton meters of torque on offer. And it's absolutely delightful to drive really. The petrol only option really works because it's refined and it's extremely smooth, especially that 7-speed DSG gearbox. It just works like a charm. Shifts are seamless, and even if you floor the throttle, you know, there's quick engagement as far as the gearbox is concerned, and we always knew that about the DSG, right? What is interesting is you get paddle shifters in this one, so if you think that the DSG cannot keep up, well, you can always use the paddle shifters. And this one also gets driving mode. So there's eco, there's normal, there's sport, and there's individual. So if you turn on the sport mode, there's a lot of noise that comes out of that exhaust. And yes, you want more of that. Of course, the gear shifter reacts as well to your throttle inputs, and it's quicker, faster. There you go. This actually does not feel like an SUV. It feels more like a hot hatch. And that takes you by surprise, doesn't it?
The all-wheel drive system, which we've already seen on the Tiguan, also makes it to the All Space. And it makes sure that you are quick off the mark, and that adds to the experience. It has a lot going its way then. It's got the features, the engine's powerful enough, and you feel like you're driving a hot hatch when you're behind the wheel. But it is pricey. At 33,12,000 rupees, the All Space is 1,50,000 rupees more expensive than the 5-seater Tiguan. It is more than 3 lakh rupees cheaper than the Kodiaq L&K variant. But that's a diesel. The All Space is in fact 13,000 rupees cheaper than the Endeavour 4x4, but costs 3 lakh rupees more than the Alturas G4. The introductory price is competitive considering it comes as a completely built unit to India, and also because all its rivals have just the diesel offering. There's a fair bit of interest in the car already, as Volkswagen has received more than 200 bookings for the SUV. So while it may not become a top seller for the company, it will strengthen its SUV portfolio. The All Space ticks all the boxes then, and it is a car you'll enjoy driving every time you get into it.
So the All Space, new variant on the Tiguan, interesting space for VW to get into. And the 5-seater, remember, for now is kind of discontinued because the diesel's out of the market anyway, post BS6. And if there is a demand, VW says it will bring that back, but also as petrol only For now, it's the 7-seater that gets all our attention. You've got to react to that review. And we move on very quickly to the other big update that happened in the SUV space. The X1 from BMW recently got its facelift, and interesting pricing and different positioning on the X1 now from BMW. Those details on this review from Kingshuk.
The BMW X1 has been an important model for BMW India in terms of sales and reach. It is the stepping stone to BMW's SUV range in India and currently is in its second generation. In a bid to keep the interest alive and to fend off competition from the likes of the Volvo XC40, Audi Q3 and even the soon to be launched second generation Mercedes-Benz GLA, the X1 receives mild updates for 2020.
Alright, so this is the BMW X1 Facelift for 2020. Now this is still the second generation model. It's not a generation change, but it gets a fair few updates. And the biggest update cosmetically is to the front end. As you could probably see, the size of the kidney grills, it has changed, it's become bigger. There's more chrome in there, and which is kind of in your face, not so much, but just about right. And apart from that, the front bumper, it's completely new. Much more angular, much more aggressive, premium to look at. And finally, the headlamp cluster is being completely redesigned. The mount stays the same, but the internals is completely new. The brackets for the LED projector lamps, they are new as well. And the DRLs, they are now angular and not roundish. So overall, the front end looks much better now. And apart from that, the tail lamps at the rear, they also get slight change, slight tweak.
That's about it as far as changes to the exterior are concerned.
The X1 facelift continues to get the same 2-liter petrol and diesel engines. Of course, they are BS6 compliant now, and the one we are driving, this model, it has the petrol engine. The power output, it also stays the same more or less, and as far as refinement levels are concerned, this feels a touch more refined because of the BS6 compliance. Apart from that, the driving dynamics, they stay the same because there's not been much change in the engine or the powertrain.
The 2-liter twin-turbo petrol motor makes 190 brake horsepower at 5000 rpm and has peak torque output of 280 Newton meters, coming in between 1350 and 2600 rpm. The engine is paired to a 7-speed automatic unit which offers crisp shifts and is smooth too. The steering retains its responsiveness, and in this age of electric power steering, the unit on the X1 is still weighted nicely and offers good feedback. After all, it is a BMW and is a driver's car.
So the overall design and the layout of the cabin of the X1 facelift, it stays the same. The feel, the fit and finish stays the same, but for two big changes. The first one is this. It is the new 8.8-inch touchscreen iDrive infotainment system, and it feels much more premium, and it offers you a lot more in terms of connectivity. You can pair your Apple phone with the car. This doesn't get Android Auto, it only gets Apple CarPlay. And the second big change is this, the panoramic sunroof. So in case you want some more light inside the cabin, or if you want to feel the wind in your hair, that's the way to go.
The BMW X1 facelift gets incremental changes to the design and now gets the iDrive infotainment system along with BS6 compliant petrol and diesel engines. It is still the most spacious SUV in its segment, and with the addition of the iDrive system and a sunroof, it comes quite close to the Volvo XC40 in terms of being a feature-laden premium compact SUV. And the fact that it continues to be the most entertaining car to drive in its segment means that the desirability quotient does go up by a few notches, in typical BMW fashion.
Time for a quick commercial break. Join us right after that for the Ford Endeavour. Now we move on and talk about the new Ford Endeavour, and when I say new, it's an update. It's not the facelift because that happened a few months ago. Now the ND gets a brand new heart. It's the BS6 diesel. It's a new engine, which means the earlier two variants are gone. It's consolidated down to one, and it's a brand new transmission, a 10-speed, if you will. So what does that do to the car, and does it remain the benchmark? Because remember, in this space, in all our shootouts, all the battles, regardless of the rival, the Endeavour has always come out on top. So can it hold on to that position is the big question. Shubham Parashar tries to answer that in this review.
The Ford Endeavour has always looked the part. Bold, butch and big. Having a road presence that is still unparalleled in its class. And that's something the Endeavour fan club admires. Now it's got a facelift. Well, sort of. But the big change is under the hood. The Endeavour gets an all-new 2-litre diesel motor, which will be the only engine on offer now. Yes, the 3.2-litre and the 2.2-litre engines have been discontinued.
Now that engine makes it future ready because it meets all the upcoming emission norms. And we are here in this location to find how capable this is compared to its predecessor in off-roading and as well as on the road.
For starters, it's the headlamps. While the layout of the cluster remains untouched, there are all LED units as opposed to projector beams on the one before, and the DRLs now look more prominent. Then there's the new Endeavour badge on the fender, which suggests that this one gets only the 2-litre engine. Other than that, nothing has changed. But the biggest update comes with the world's first 10-speed automatic gearbox. And the claim here is that it helps bring in the best of both motors. It helps deliver fuel efficiency figures of 13.90 kilometers per litre in the two-wheel drive version and 12.4 kilometers per litre in the four-wheel drive iteration. The gearbox works like a charm. The shifts are precise, ratios are on point, and it holds on to the revs till 4000 RPM. What it does is skip gears to keep you in the correct rev band. So let's say you're cruising in 8th gear and want to make a quick overtake. It can shift down directly to 6th or 4th depending on your throttle input. That said, the motor does feel just a bit anxious towards the top end, where it gets more vocal and there is more noise than progression. It also comes with a select shift functionality, basically where you can lock a particular gear beyond which it won't upshift, no matter how hard you rev. And that's a boon in the dunes, where you just can't afford to lose momentum. Then there's the terrain management system, which unleashes the Endeavour's dexterity. And you do feel the aggression building up as you switch modes from normal to gravel or mud and finally to sand. The Endeavour has always been an off-roader at its core, with high approach and departure angles along with a 225mm of ground clearance. You rarely worry about scraping its nose or belly. The independent suspension up front and linkage types at the rear, coupled with anti-roll bars. So yes, it can take on all the rough quite handsomely. But not all owners are going to encounter those treacherous terrains, right? That brings us to how good of a daily driver and highway cruiser it still is.
Even the previous Endeavour impressed us with its body manners, and this one continues to do so. Obviously, you just can't defy the rule of physics, and a bit of body roll are apparent when you are actually taking those bends. But yeah, for an SUV of this size, it's pretty much impressive.
That said, it still is a big SUV, tipping the scales at over 2.4 tons, and body rolls are inevitable when you are fast around sharp bends. The cabin more or less remains unchanged, but gets quite a few segment first features. So there are powered front seats, power foldable third row seats, foot gesture operation for the power tailgate, semi-auto parallel park assist, dual zone climate control and panoramic sunroof and more. There is an 8-inch touchscreen with Microsoft Sync, which is now configured with the Ford Pass connected car tech that receives over-the-air updates. So you can remotely lock, unlock and start-stop or even pre-cool the cabin. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. On the safety front, there are 7 airbags including a driver knee airbag and seat belt with pre-tensioners. The price then. The base two-wheel drive variants costs 29,55,000 rupees and it tops out at 33,24,000 rupees, and these are introductory prices. It is in fact over a lakh cheaper than its predecessor, and even that 70,000 rupees imminent price hike won't make it as expensive as the outgoing model. It still is the most affordable four-wheel drive SUV in its segment, undercutting both the Mahindra Alturas G4 by 1,15,000 rupees and the Toyota Fortuner by a good 4,40,000 rupees. So it's affordable, capable, and with Ford's warranty schemes easy on the pocket to maintain. The Endeavour feels livelier with this new 2-litre engine, and the new gearbox is a touch of brilliance. So yes, the Endeavour still remains all the SUV you need.
Now remember, all of these reviews and also the reviews of their rivals are on carandbike.com. Text and video, you'll find it there, or go to our YouTube channel as well. And promise me you'll wear your seatbelts and join me next week. Bye-bye.